Anyway, we saw hard repression against this uprising, and dictators never learn, you know. With repression you can manage to clear the streets for a while, but you can never manage to clear the minds of people. And I'm quite sure that this uprising is not over, and it will continue, indeed, because of the basic reasons why it emerged in the first place are still there. As I said in the plenary last month, young people took action for freedom, and their blood flowed in the streets, and we need international action to help those still in prison, the detainees. Already 12 of them, let's not forget, 12 of them already died under torture, and senior government officials are talking about executions. So our attention in the first place should be for them. And apart from protesters that the regime is repressing and may begin to execute, the government continues with executions of non-political prisoners as before. Several young prisoners who were arrested when they were 15 years old, 17 years old, were executed last week after spending years in jail. It is very clear this is an anti-human regime with no respect for human rights whatsoever. No difference indeed between the so-called moderates and hardliners. The young people who protested in the recent uprising have rejected both factions and called for the downfall of the regime in its entirety, and we should respect their views and should support them in these hard times. That is why I'm happy that our meeting today will be seen as an expression of support and solidarity for the Iranian people who want a regime change and nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you very much for organizing this event, and I also agree with everything what was said. We as member of European Parliament, we are here because we belong to countries in which countries the basic values are human rights, freedom of expression, rule of law. And as we saw in these protests in Iran, the same things are in Iran between young people, between women, between other people in Iran, and there are many more and more those people all around the country in many cities. So I think it's necessary that here in European Parliament we say openly it's enough, that we cannot look at this violence which has happened, death penalty which are happening in Iran. There is no excuse for these things which are happened in Iran. We all support a nuclear agreement with Iran, but we must send a clear message that we will not trade this agreement or other things with basic values of human rights, killing people and violence against people who don't agree with the regime. And I hope and I think it's necessary that the same voice goes from all European countries and people who are the frontmen of European Union in Commission, in Parliament, and I hope that there will be democratization in Iran.
I would like to thank Mrs. Deprez for organizing this event to celebrate the 39th anniversary of the Iranian Revolution against the Shah. At that time, people protested for a more democratic and fair society. Unfortunately, their hopes and their efforts have been not enough. Now, almost 40 years have passed, and Iranians cannot speak freely, cannot have a different religion, cannot protest against the government without being imprisoned, and, as some NGO seems to suggest, without being tortured. The events of December last week confirmed the disrespectful behavior of Iran government toward one of the most basic human rights, freedom of expression. While people was demonstrating against the unemployment, the rising prices and the poor quality of life, the only answer the government provided was violence. We cannot accept that. The European Union is based on respect of human rights. We hope Iranians could speak freely and could be heard. Thank you very much.
When I arrived here in 2014, I saw pictures of Iranian people being hanged in cranes in Tehran. And I couldn't believe. I thought it was a montage. It was not real, but it was. And I was so horrified that I said, no, I have to do something to change this, to stop this, in whichever way I could. So I joined Friends of Free Iran. And thankfully I did, because I'm also very encouraged to continue with the support to this cause, because of the recent protests which erupted on the 20th of December in Iran, which rapidly escalated to 142 cities across the country and covered all the 31 provinces of the country. All these massive anti-establishment protests, brutally repressed and suppressed by the mullahs in power, as you all know, show the world that Iran has reached a boiling point, and that Iran citizens have enough of the horror, enough of the medieval tortures and the executions imposed by the mullahs in the name of God. Iranians, especially the young generation, are no longer afraid and want nothing less than a total change of regime. Now it's a time to show to the Iranian people, who are amongst the most progressive in all the Middle East. I have said this so many times. It's a fact. It's a fact. Our strong support of their aspirations for freedom and democracy, and assure them that the European Union and this Parliament, especially this Parliament, won't tolerate any more the repression of this peaceful protest. As I have stressed time and time again, when it comes to fundamental rights, there is no concession. There is no room for appeasement. Thank you very much.